Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and do the next one. The next one is about Lyme disease. So again, share screen, get started. So in this one, it says 4% of the people who spend time in the woods will get Lyme disease. So what that's telling me is when we look at this, we're gonna have Lyme disease 4% of the time. We're not gonna have Lyme disease the complement, so 96% of the time. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna give people the test. It gives a positive reading 97% of the time for people with Lyme disease. So what that says is we get a positive result 97% of the time. It means we get a negative result 3% of the time. And with the people who don't have Lyme disease, it says it'll give a negative result 92% of the time. It'll give a positive result 8% of the time. So these are the people who are going to be Lyme disease and testing positive. And the stuff like we talked before, we're going down branches. So we do 0.04 times 0.97. And 0.04 times 0.97 says that 0.0388. These are the top people that probability of Lyme disease and testing negative. This is 0.04, 0.03. And this is going to be 0.0012. To just finish it off, probability not having Lyme disease and testing positive, 6.08. 6 times 0.08, and that's about 7.68%. Probability of not having Lyme disease and testing negative, 0.96 times 0.92, 96 times 0.92, and that's going to give me 88%, 88.32%. Okay, so let me kind of talk about what these numbers are. These are people who have Lyme disease and test positive. So they correctly tested positive for having Lyme disease. They had it, they tested positive. These people have a name. These people are called false negatives. They tested negative falsely. Basically what it's saying is they had the disease, but it says they don't. So this is a number that's not good because basically these are people who could be getting sick that we're not treating. So that's less than 1% though. That's good in terms of magnitude. These people right here, these people have a name. These people are called false positives. These people are people who tested positive falsely. They don't have Lyme disease, but the test shows that they did. Again, not great, but at the end of the day, you have a test that says you have Lyme disease and you don't have Lyme disease. So maybe what we find out is when we take a second test, we see that it's a little bit better, that you're not sick. So in this case, what is the probability that someone gets a positive reading? It's going to be these people here plus these people here. So I'm going to do 0.0388 plus 0.0768. And it's going to be 11. This right here, the probability that I get a positive result is about 11.56. That's the same question. If this one says the same negative reading. So in this case, again, 1 minus 0.1156. So these are the people who got negative ratings. So about 88%, a little over 88%, 0.8844. These were the probability of a negative test result. Those are the probability of positive. The person gets a positive reading. If the person has a positive reading, he has Lyme disease. So again, this is saying, what is the probability that they have Lyme disease given that they got a positive reading? So that's saying what proportion of that 11% actually have it. So it's 0.0388 over 0.1156. So in this case, 0.0388 divided by 0.1156. So it's about a third of the people, 3356, about a little more than a third of the people who test positive actually have it, which means that this is the people who don't have Lyme disease given a positive. And that's going to be 1 minus that 0.3356. So that is going to be about 66.44. So this is about 0.6644. About 2/3 of the people who test positive actually don't have it. This one says the probability that someone has a negative reading and that they don't have Lyme disease. So in this case, what we're going to do is look at what proportion of this total actually are negative tests. So in this case, it would be 0.8832 over the sum of these two, 0.8832 plus 0.0012, which is going to be that number up there. So we're going to do 0.8832 divided by 0.8844. And this says that there's about a 99.86% chance that a negative test is in fact correct. In this case, it says what's the probability that someone has Lyme disease given they had a negative test result. So again, that's going to be the 0.0012 out of the 0.8844. And when I do that, we're going to find out that this is 0.0014. So what this is saying is that if I get a negative test, there's a less than 1% chance that that person actually doesn't, that actually has Lyme disease. So again, I got a negative test. The chances of someone actually having Lyme disease with a negative test is less than 1%. And that's the goal. When you're doing these things, you want to try and keep your false negatives as low as possible when you're doing like tests for things. Depending on the situation, I mean, it could be the other way around, but I will tell you, the majority of the time, we're going to keep our false negatives low. But by keeping our false negatives low, our false positives technically get a little bit higher. So those are the two questions from last class. I'm going to do a couple more videos that'll talk about the two questions from class we're working on today on Monday.